election. I am with the NDP, as Adam said, and I'd like to thank CARP for putting on this event as well as the event that we had in Lakeshore. Was it last week? I'm really losing days here as we get closer to the election. But I really want to thank everyone for their attendance and caring about issues for retired persons in Canada is incredibly important. CARP has a wonderful presence in Ottawa, and they come and they lobby quite often. I'm always happy to welcome them into my office to talk about issues that matter to people here in Essex that are retired and that are seniors. So maybe what I'll do, instead of talking about me, because I think most of you know who I am and what I represent, I want to talk a little bit about specifically what we have on offer in the NDP for seniors and retired persons, and a little bit of the work that we've been doing over the past 4 years. I will say that in Essex, we have a lot of vulnerable seniors. We have a lot of seniors who struggle to be able to afford their medication, who cannot find affordable housing, who are living on fixed incomes that just are not stretching anymore as far as they need them to go. So we certainly have a lot of need in our area. I've been very proud of the work that my office and my team has done to assist people when they find themselves in a position where they need help. One of the things I'm most proud of is that regardless of the need, if it's not federal, I'm certainly happy to send you next door to my provincial partner, Tracey, for those services. But even if it's not something that the government provides, my team has been very effective at reaching out into our community partners to make sure that we find a solution for people. We don't just say it's not a federal issue and close the door. We believe that we're there to serve, and that means partnering with those in the community, like United Way, like different groups that are able to offer services when seniors and retirees find themselves in vulnerable positions. So I'm very thankful to the gentleman who brought the retired teachers kind of list here, if you will, because I know I saw you at the one in Lakeshore as well, so thank you for bringing that in for the advocacy. This really is, these are 3 things that are part of the NDP platform. The National Senior Strategy is something that we put forward a private members bill this parliamentary session on. Sherry Benson, my colleague from out west, unfortunately was voted down by Conservatives and Liberals. So we believe strongly that we need a national senior strategy, because if we don't know what we're facing, if we don't understand what the challenges are, how can we create a pathway to a short-term plan and a long-term plan? So having a strategy is very critical, especially as we face more and more people that are retiring of that age and really looking to, enjoying a very long life, which is a wonderful thing, but trying to figure out how they're going to do that on their fixed income. The next item that you have is retirement income security. And this also is something that a lot of seniors and retired people face, because as we've seen, when you retire, sometimes corporations go out of business, or sometimes they go bankrupt, or sometimes they don't fund their pensions to the full amount that they should be. And that creates a lot of insecurity and instability in people's lives. And we've been fighting very hard as New Democrats at the federal level to ensure pension protection. And Sears is certainly an example locally where we've seen a lot of people lose their jobs. This has happened across the country. And unfortunately, the way that the laws are written in Canada, the workers who have paid into their pension, who have a deferred wage into their pension for when they retire, are not prioritized on a list when a company goes bankrupt. So unfortunately, they fall very far down on the list, and we introduced legislation to change this. We were deeply concerned by some of the legislation that the Liberals put forward, like C-27, which would have changed some of the defined benefit packages into a new model that would have been fluctuating every month. To us, that was very concerning, because when you have a fixed income, you don't want to face every month not knowing if it will be that exact amount or less, or less, or less, when you're already trying to get by on that fixed income. To us, that's not acceptable, and we need to respect our retirees and our seniors and have them live a life in dignity for all the years that they worked very hard in our communities to build everything that we have. Pharmacare, certainly one of our top priorities, and this really does impact seniors and retirees. I remember meeting a retiree last election in Amherstburg, and he had recently retired with a good pension, with a good package, and unfortunately he'd been faced with a rare form of cancer. He needed an experimental drug, and he had a lifetime limit of $75,000 on his benefit plan. That sounds like a lot of money, but some of these experimental drugs are $3,000 or more per month. And he, within a year and a half of being diagnosed and retired, had no benefits left. So the plan that they thought that they had for their life had significantly changed. And pharmacare is a challenge for everyone of every age, I would say. It's a burden for a lot of folks who have to pay out of pocket because they work 3 and 4 part-time jobs, don't have a benefit package. And like I said, even folks like myself, I worked at Ford on the assembly line for 20 years. Our package, our benefit package has significantly changed in the face of some of the concessions that have happened contract after contract. So a lot of times you go to the doctor and I have 2 sons, they're 18 and 16, I take them for a medication, it's no longer covered. But we didn't receive that information. So our pharmacare plan is to have a single payer, universal pharmacare plan. That means when you go to the doctors, or to the pharmacy rather, you bring your health card, not your credit card. And that's something that we need to move towards. We are the only OECD country that has a Medicare plan without pharmacare. So this is something that we're very, very committed to ensuring that Canadians have. And if we bulk buy, we save money. And economists have come out from all over Canada saying that this plan will save us money and it will save burden on our healthcare system. So to go into the hospital, it's $1,500 a day. And that's something that's paid for, of course, out of our Medicare. A lot of people are going to the hospital because they can't afford their medication, they become unwell, and they need that medication. They end up in the hospital because they're not well, they receive that medication, and they're in the hospital $1,500 a day, and they require maybe $50 worth of medication. So this would also ease the burden on our healthcare system significantly so that folks who need that care in emergency in our hospitals aren't waiting on stretchers in the hallway because those beds are available. So this is a win-win-win, and it's not just us who are saying that. Certainly there was a task force that happened at the national level with Dr. Eric Hoskins, who has said that this is the way that we need to move into the future. So this is about taking care of Canadians, not just because it's the right thing to do. Every Canadian should have access to the medication that they need, but because it will alleviate that burden on our healthcare system, and we'll be getting more for our dollar that we're already paying at the provincial level. And I'm certain at Chartwell and different long-term care homes more, I would say, that you see that when people are there, they're able to receive that medication because it's covered as part of their stay or their bed in a long-term care facility. That eases an incredible burden off of people. So that's something we're committed. And lastly, the thing that I'll talk about is housing. So we have an affordable housing crisis right here in Windsor, Essex. And when people can't afford their rent or they can't afford their home, that puts everything else in jeopardy. And that means that we have folks that are in precarious positions who are saying, I want to keep the roof over my head, but I can't afford food. I can't afford medication. So they're having to make choices about these things in their retirement and as a senior that they shouldn't have to be making, because they can't just go out, although many are trying to go out and find employment because they have to supplement that fixed income. So we know that housing is critical. We've got a 7-year wait list for affordable housing here in Essex. And we need to build new units. We need to move towards having a place where people can call home so that they can have a life. And that's for everyone from our youth who, we've seen the cost of housing go up here, and the entry point for homes is not what it was, 20 years ago, 30 years ago. Now, the entry point for a home is becoming unachievable for our young people as well. So we really need to tackle the affordable housing crisis that we have across the country. And these are key priorities of a new Democratic government. These are things that I've been working on with people here locally, and they're things that we're committed to doing in the next Parliament, regardless of what that Parliament looks like. So I think there's a lot of folks I'm talking to at the door who are saying, what's going to happen on October 21st? And we're certainly in a position where we don't know. There won't be a clear outcome until that day. And as many politicians like to say, the only poll that matters is October 21st, Election Day. So I am seeking re-election. I've been working very hard here as your member of Parliament. I've been a loud voice on the national stage, making sure that I'm bringing our issues up to Ottawa and making sure that they know what's happening back home in our rural riding and the issues that impact us. So I thank you for your time and look forward to our conversations after. Thank you.